Examine these satellite photos of a distinct location in the Saudi Arabian desert. Clearly, it's undergoing major construction. They're in the process of establishing what seems to be a misguided idea, a linear city in the midst of the desert. While you might think the unusual shape is the main issue, that's just the tip of the iceberg. This initiative, named NEOM, is a colossal undertaking for which Saudi Arabia is allocating nearly $500 billion. But it's doubtful it'll succeed as they envision. The city's ambitious blueprint depends on avant-garde technologies that have yet to be proven. Astonishingly, this brand new city promises amenities like conservation areas and an ultra-modern transport network, all set along a straight corridor of reflective glass stretching over 170 kilometers of desert. Interestingly, NEOM is only one out of 9 grand city projects slated for the country's western shoreline. These extensive ventures are intended to usher Saudi Arabia into a future filled with progress and innovation. Based on modest calculations, just NEOM will eat up almost half of the entire $1 trillion infrastructure budget. But why are they pouring so much into a desert city? It's all part of the Saudi 2030 vision to lure foreign investors and tourists. However, achieving this vision might be more challenging than anticipated. However, one major challenge stands out. Saudi Arabia's English proficiency is notably low, among the lowest globally. This means either Saudis must grasp English or visitors must pick up some Arabic. But there's a solution: Speakerly. Speakerly is impressive as they've dedicated years to studying numerous language patterns, devising a special technique that prioritizes real-world applicability. Consequently, you only learn what's essential for communication. Studies suggest that this innovative approach accelerates language acquisition by up to 5 times than what most are familiar with. In just 3-4 months, with a daily commitment of half an hour, you can progress from novice to proficient. Speakerly provides a comprehensive language learning experience, from vocabulary enhancement to speaking, writing, and listening drills, even suggesting music in your target language to keep things engaging. Moreover, they've just rolled out upgraded mobile apps that come with a revamped review feature, letting you track your vocabulary and sentence mastery and facilitate reviews, even in hands-free mode, perfect for those on the move. So, Saudi Arabia's urgent need for overseas capital boils down to a straightforward issue. Without diversification, the nation faces potential insolvency. At present, their primary economic lifeline is oil, which catapulted them to immense wealth. However, with powerhouses like China, Europe, and the U.S. transitioning to electric vehicles, the kingdom must pivot to alternative revenue streams before global demand for gasoline dwindles. Additionally, the emergence of eco-friendly alternatives that could supplant oil-derived plastics is on the horizon. Their proposed answer? Channel significant portions of their oil wealth into dazzling infrastructure ventures to lure foreign capital, expertise, and tourists. Yet, while such grand projects garner attention, they alone can't magnetize overseas investments. Attracting substantial foreign investment hinges on multiple key factors, including political steadiness, robust infrastructure, agile governance, and a competent labor pool. While Saudi Arabia possesses some of these attributes, there's an overemphasis on large-scale endeavors at the expense of other essential success factors. It's remarkable to consider the nation's evolution over the past 100 years, a commendation they certainly deserve. Pre-oil discovery, the land was characterized mainly by tribal norms, where pastoralism and commerce were dominant trades. But everything transformed post-oil's discovery. The nation has been predominantly anchored to its oil sector, branching out into related industries like plastics, petrochemicals, and natural gas. This singular focus has rendered their economy vulnerable, teetering towards instability and potential long-term unsustainability. Presently, Oil constitutes a staggering 42% of Saudi Arabia's GDP and 90% of its export revenue. This over-reliance is precisely what Saudi Arabia aims to recalibrate through external investments before the clock runs out. Notably, specialists from institutions like Brookings and the World Bank forecast that by 2034, the kingdom's wealth reserves might run dry without significant economic adjustments and financial overhauls. Even as grand infrastructure endeavors make headlines, the stark reality confronts the nation. Economists advise the leadership to prioritize ventures that genuinely bolster and drive economic expansion, as opposed to their current trajectory. However, there's a formidable roadblock to implementing these much-needed shifts: the lavish lifestyles of the Saudi elite, underwritten by petroleum profits. The enormous oil inflow allows the government to bestow citizens with sizable petrol subsidies, minimal income tax, and restricted product levies. Attempts to curtail these benefits have repeatedly been retracted, stemming from fears of societal dissatisfaction or upheaval. Yet, grand urban initiatives like NEOM aren't the silver bullet for Saudi Arabia's fiscal challenges. The logic behind constructing a linear metropolis remains elusive. Bringing these vast projects to fruition demands an incredible influx of energy, resources, and pioneering solutions, yet to see large-scale deployment. NEOM's urban layout is distinctly unparalleled, mandating innovative and unproven methods to function. The closest existing infrastructure analog to what NEOM envisions is the Hyperloop train system, but it's far from being commercially operational on a large scale. This is merely one facet of the many ambitious endeavors NEOM, along with Petroleum, are aspiring to materialize within this cityscape. Concurrent projects, like water reprocessing and desalination, are also in the works. Technologies we're familiar with, but not on this magnitude. Given the substantial investment in R&D for these groundbreaking initiatives, one can't help but question its prudence. And that's without accounting for the anticipated upkeep costs over subsequent years. Additionally, the line's edification is projected to emit approximately 1.8 billion tons of CO2, akin to the UK's emissions spanning 4 years. Such an emission footprint from a single project raises eyebrows, more so when the endeavour is marketed as carbon neutral. The glaring inconsistency between the projected environmental footprint and the carbon neutral label is puzzling, leading to unfavourable press overseas. Esteemed postmodern architect Gian Piero Frasinello likened the project to a tangible manifestation of dystopian visions. Such critiques hardly bode well for an initiative that seeks international investments to buoy Saudi Arabia's fiscal landscape. Adding to the skepticism surrounding the initiative is Saudi Arabia's track record, along with that of nearby nations, of leaving ventures incomplete. Taking a broader view at the Gulf nations, it's evident that numerous projects have either been suspended or fully discarded. These undertakings met their demise due to various issues, ranging from communication gaps to perpetual cost overruns. Based on statistics from global data, the Middle East and Gulf areas rank almost at the bottom for the likelihood of infrastructure projects seeing completion. The situation is particularly concerning, with a staggering 23 of all public-private collaborative projects being dropped in the Middle East. Given this history, these vast initiatives seem more emblematic of authoritative regimes than genuine efforts to lure investments. NEOM is merely the latest exhibit in this pattern. Casting our minds back, Saudi Arabia, inspired by the success of Burj Khalifa in neighboring UAE, ambitiously declared its intent to outdo it with the Jeddah Tower. This proposed structure aimed to be the inaugural skyscraper touching 1,000 meters. However, it met an untimely end due to two primary reasons. First, its experimental approach of using concrete at higher altitudes without steel reinforcement. Ring any bells? Secondly, the main financier Walid bin Talal, faced arrest with other royals in an anti-graft drive. What's surprising is that the anticipated budget for the Jeddah Tower was a mere $1.2 billion. Compared to the staggering $1 trillion budget of the line, the Jeddah Tower's projected cost of $1.2 billion seems entirely rational, yet its completion was halted. However, these uncompleted mega-projects are not the primary deterrent for potential foreign investors in Saudi Arabia. Beyond the polished facade of these ambitious projects, the nation's core remains much the same, operating under a stringent Sharia-based legal framework. Although outward appearances suggest progress, with the state highlighting newfound freedoms in recent years, leading to positive Western media attention, the reality is different. Merely half a decade ago, women were barred from driving. There was enforced gender segregation in eateries, and recreational activities like cinema and concerts were prohibited. Although these have been rectified, such reforms merely scratch the surface and do little to overhaul the nation's intrinsic beliefs and practices. Furthermore, the nation's stance on human and labor rights continues to be questionable. The NEOM project, for instance, underscores this point. Abdul Rahim Al-Wati, an activist from the village of Alex, resisted the government's eviction mandate, aiming to shed light on the state's forceful relocations of tribes from their ancestral lands. Tragically, before he could spotlight this issue, he met a fatal end at the hands of Saudi authorities. This incident is but a drop in the ocean, with various entities, including human rights activists and global governments, scrutinizing similar cases. As recently as May 2023, the UN expressed its deep concerns over a surge in pending executions associated with the NEOM endeavors. These grave human rights infractions are distressing in and of themselves, and it's even more unsettling when such projects purport to pave the way for a more enlightened society and its inhabitants. Considering the circumstances, these project claims appear rather ironic and do little to convince international investors that significant change is underway in Saudi Arabia. When juxtaposed with neighboring countries like the UAE, the contrasts are stark. The UAE showcases greater acceptance of varied religious beliefs and foreign traditions. Moreover, it grants expats and international investors full company ownership rights within its free trade zones, which facilitates business operations and the mobility of individuals. Such initiatives have succeeded in drawing the tourists, talent, and investments Saudi Arabia desires. Instead of implementing these vital social reforms and focusing on practical infrastructure projects, Saudi Arabia seems bent on chasing unattainable aims. They're embarking on grandiose city projects with hopes of drawing in 100 million tourists annually by 2030. To contextualize this ambition, consider that the USA, a major tourist hub, welcomes about 80 million visitors each year. The odds of Saudi Arabia achieving this, given its nascent tourist infrastructure and lacking amenities, seems slim. The government's approach to rapidly enhance tourist numbers by introducing colossal structures is questionable, especially when the feasibility of such constructions remains uncertain. Projects like NEOM appear to be adding to the challenges rather than offering solutions. Simply put, the objectives set out by these projects seem far-fetched. It's a pity, given Saudi Arabia's immense potential, evident in its renowned educational institutions in the Gulf, positioning it to evolve into a genuine knowledge-driven economy. For Saudi Arabia to truly progress, it needs to make a definitive choice between clinging to its traditional values and embracing modern ones. Instead of pouring resources into grandiose, ambitious projects, it might be more pragmatic to invest in smaller, less glamorous initiatives that promise tangible improvements. The essence of this video isn't to predict whether the line will be completed or if Saudi's socio-cultural reforms will be effective. It's to highlight evident flaws in their current strategies, in hopes that they'll recalibrate for meaningful, long-lasting transformation. But what's your take? Do you believe they can achieve these aspirations? Are these large-scale projects the best approach? The ball is in your court to decide. That wraps it up for this video. Thanks for tuning in, and catch you in the next one.